Alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome to another MRS webinar. It's very wonderful to see you all here. Today's webinar is about AMAC, how AMAC empowers you Muslims in Tennessee through through civic engagement, fighting Islamophobia, and assisting in discrimination cases. Empowering Muslims across Tennessee and what AMAC does for you. Here today with us is Sabina Muhyiddin. Sabina Muhyiddin is a Bangladeshi American Muslim born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. She graduated from Vanderbilt University in 1993 with a degree in mechanical engineering. She is an active member of the Muslim community, participating in interfaith and youth programs. In 2010, Sabina helped launch the Sons and Daughters of Abraham project, which brings Muslims, Christians, and Jewish youth across Middle Tennessee together through interfaith dialogue and outreach programs. Sabina has published a number of articles in the Tennessean and was an outspoken critic of the 2011 anti-Sharia bill. She is a founding board member of the American Muslim Advisory Council of AMAC and now serves as the executive director of AMAC, which empowers Tennessee Muslims through community civic engagement, community building, and media relations. She serves as the chair of AMAC's yearly Empowering Women Conference. Additionally, Sabina serves on the board of the National Organization of Workforce Diversity, which helps promote diversity in the workplace, and the board of the League of Women Voters, Nashville. In 2020, Sabina was inducted into the YWCA's Academy of Women of Achievement. She is an alumni of the American Muslim Civic Leadership Institute and the Muslim Power Building Project. She currently lives in Nashville with her family and children. Sabina has published a number of articles in the Tennessean and was an outspoken critic of the 2011 Sharia bill. She is the founding board member of the American Muslim Advisory Council. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Sabina, Sister Sabina. And you're here today to tell us more about AMAC and what AMAC can do for the Muslim community. Am I correct?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Hala, for the introduction and for having me be your guest speaker this month for MRS. So I'm excited to share all the work that AMAC does and how we can directly serve the community. So if I can share my screen now, I will. There. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So empowering Muslims across Tennessee, what AMAC does for you. So the American Muslim Advisory Council was founded after an unprecedented attack on our community in 2011 with the anti-Sharia bill in the Tennessee legislature. And so this bill really attacked Muslims and how we practice Islam. And what was amazing about this is it's just not just the hatred that fueled this bill, the hatred in the legislature against the Muslim community, but the response from the community. So the Muslims across Tennessee organized, got together. We talked with our legislators. We talked with our sponsors, the sponsors of the bill. We came to the Capitol. You know, one week there was 300, another week there was 500 Muslims on the Capitols. We worked with our allies in different organizations, stood by us, interfaith leaders, and we fought back against this bill. And we had allies in the legislators who stood up on our behalf, but we spoke for ourselves, and eventually that bill that was originally introduced was defeated. And what we learned from that experience was that it was important for the Muslim community to have an organization who would be prepared to fight that kind of Islamophobic attack on our community. So we know there are many mosques across the state, but each mosque is concerned with the spiritual well-being of its members. And we needed an organization outside the mosque to deal with Islamophobic attacks. And that's how in 2012, myself and a group of Muslims leaders across Tennessee started the American Muslim Advisory Council. And our mission is to empower Tennessee Muslim community and foster mutual trust through civic engagement, community building, and media relations. So I'm going to first talk about civic engagement, because that's what we learned with the 2011 anti-Sharia bill, is that Muslims needed to be civically engaged if they were going to have any power, or they were going to fight against any threats of discrimination against our community. So we work every year during the elections to get our community out to vote. And we find that the Muslim community, it just takes a little bit of education about why we need to vote, and getting people registered, and having some events around voting to get the community out to vote. So like this 2020 election, we had a campaign, get out the Muslim vote. We held voter registration, voter education. So we explained how absentee voting worked, especially with COVID, encouraged people to go early vote. We had rides to the polls, and we texted out voting information to make sure people remembered to go vote and they knew where their polling locations were. And so part of our civic engagement work is also engaging elected officials. So during the elections, we've had candidate forums. In 2018, we had 5 candidate forums. And this past year, we had 4 candidate forums virtually. So we had to figure out how to do things during COVID, but it worked out. We had candidate forums, and that's an opportunity for the Muslim community to know who's running in an election, where they stand on different issues. But it's also an opportunity for these candidates to come into a mosque, come visit the Muslim community, and learn about what issues matter to us. So it's a two-way street. We get to know them and they get to know us. And so we also do meet and greets, opportunities for elected officials to come meet the community and see who we are, know our issues. Every year, we for the past several years, we've had a Muslim Day on the Hill. So we invite Muslims from across the state to come to Nashville, to the state legislature, and meet with their state representative or state senator. And this is very powerful, because a lot of times, if you've never met with your elected officials, you can be a little bit scared or nervous, but we go in groups. We do an advocacy training that morning or the day before, so people know how it'll go, what do you say, and more experienced people, leaders will kind of help those with less experience, but everyone enjoys it. And it's just, again, an opportunity to know your elected officials, and for them to know you, and them to just, and then to advocate on different issues. And it's very important that we advocate for ourselves. We let elected officials know what we like in terms of what kind of legislation is before them and what we don't like. So that is a very important part of our civic engagement work, engaging elected officials. Also education. So, you know, a lot of times we think about civic engagement in terms of voting and elections, but it's really what happens outside of elections that really matter. You have to pay attention to what issues are being discussed, especially on the local level, because, you know, really local politics really rules our lives. And so we try to have webinars and talks on different issues. So just this past month, we brought Councilwoman at Large Zulfatsuera to talk about the Nashville's budget. And then we also brought the assessor of property in Nashville to talk about the taxes. So just educating the community on what's going on local level, what decisions are being made. So we can start to formulate, you know, what is our position on these decisions. And then civic engagement workshops. So making sure that our community members know how to really engage with their elected officials and advocate on their behalf. So, you know, being able to speak up on an issue that you see front and center. So for a lot of Muslims, you know, education is a very important issue. Being able to, let's say, advocate within the school with teacher and administration, but then going to the school board if you still had an issue, and how do you affect change? We also keep up with what's going on, what laws are being passed, what rules are being discussed, and try to alert the community so they know what's going on. And so they can contact the elected officials and give them their opinion on a particular issue. So that's the civic engagement piece of empowering the Muslim community. The next piece is community building. And so, you know, for an empowered community is one that is well-resourced. So part of building a strong Muslim community is making sure our community has the resources they need to thrive. And one way we're doing this is through the Muslim Resource Services. So this is a new program that we just begun in 2021, and it's largely based out of Memphis. And, you know, Hala, and this program today is MRS's program for Muslim Resource Services. But the idea behind it is to connect Muslim with available resources in the community. So whether it's financial aid or where the food pantries are, or, you know, wellness resources, whether it's mental health, or if you have an issue with law enforcement, where do you go? Legal assistance. So you know, literally, you know, for the MRS, if you're in Memphis or in West Tennessee, there's a hotline that you can call anytime, and Hala will answer it and direct you to the right resource that you may need. And the number is right there. It's 901-430-0333. Or you can email mrs@amactn.com. And so she's already made all those connections on the different resources available in West Tennessee, and she can connect anyone. It's confidential. You don't have to say your name, but you will know where to go. And a part of the Muslim Resource Services, today's webinar is a monthly webinar on a different resource available to the community. So this is an example, this picture from April that we, before taxes, the taxes were due, a webinar on free tax services. And so a lot of people just didn't know, like, you can get free tax services if you qualify. So I think it's very important to connect the community to the available resources. And so this is also what we've been doing since the pandemic hit. AMAC understood that it was just very important to make sure the Muslim community knew had all the right information about COVID, how to stay safe. If they lost their job, they're in financial constraints, where can they get financial aid? And so AMAC kind of stepped in that to fill the void that there was really no one kind of organizing this kind of COVID relief within the Muslim community. And so we had all these different webinars. We were able to secure some grants to help give out food boxes. And then we work with, in Nashville, we were working with the Metro Health Department. We had COVID testing at 2 of our masjids. You know, at one masjid, that was when we were giving out free food boxes. We also had COVID testing. And then we've had several vaccination clinics at area masjids, at the Salahuddin Center in Nashville and also at the Islamic Center of Tennessee. And so we've given out over 1,200 doses of vaccine inside a masjid. So, you know, it's very important that our community gets the resources they need to stay safe from COVID. So another part of community building is making sure we have the future leaders we need to lead our community, and really we know we have outstanding youth in our community. So we decided to start a leadership program. So we started 2. So one is the Youth Leadership Program, and that is actually in Middle Tennessee, and it's for high schoolers. And the kids, they pick several issues they want to learn more about. They get expert speakers to talk about those different issues. They learn leadership skills, and then they have to organize an event around that issue. And so it really teaches them a lot of leadership skills. We have a similar type of program, the Youth Committee, which is a statewide program where high school, college, and young adults across Tennessee come together, and they try to work on some kind of action item or event for the Muslims youth across the state. So another part of our community building is our yearly Empowering Women Conference. And I have to say, this is my favorite of all AMAC programs. It's a day-and-a-half conference for women, run by women, with all women speakers. And women get to learn about different issues. They learn how to tackle those issues and take leadership in trying to solve those issues. We recognize women leaders in the community with awards, and we invite local and national speakers. And we've had all kinds of different subjects that we've discussed: financial empowerment, women in leadership roles, what do you do when you face discrimination? And so and how to start a business, how to do marketing. So it's a lot of different things, different topics that we cover, but the women spend a day and a half together. And so there's a lot of bonding, and they really enjoy that. It's for women, run by women, all women speakers. It's really powerful. So we do, last year because of COVID, we didn't have it, but we plan to have it again this year, hopefully in November, God willing. So again, another part of community building is the collaborations and partnerships that we create. And so AMAC works with the mosques across Tennessee and other grassroots organizations to facilitate collaborations between the mosques. And so sometimes it's about getting information out there to all our community leaders and keeping them up to date on what's going on, whether it's in the city or in the state. So sometimes there are threat alerts. And so we were able to let all the mosques know to be wary of any threats. We also work with other nonprofit, government, and social justice organizations. We do cultural competency workshops. So we will come in and talk about how these nonprofits or government organizations can best serve the Muslim community and what they need to know about our community to serve us in a culturally competent way. And so I think that's a very important part of our work. You can always contact us and we can set up these cultural competency workshops, and we make it very specific to the organization who's doing the requesting. We also do workshops in Islamophobia. And Islamophobia, you can also call it anti-Muslim racism, but ways in which, Islamophobia is embedded into whether it's law or whether it's discrimination at work, understanding how Islamophobia works. And then, working with these different organizations, we do joint actions. We've worked with Micah in Memphis, NOAA in Nashville, NOAA's National Organization for Action and Hope, Connects in Americas, Turk, Metro Health Department in Nashville, the YWCA. So we've worked together and most recently, and here you have a picture of when after the Supreme Court ruled in 2018 that it upheld the Muslim ban. We had a protest, and we had all of our allies come and join us to speak out against the Supreme Court's ruling. More recently, there was an appointment by the Speaker of the House, the Textbook Commission, and that appointment was Lori Cardozo Moore, and she is a known Islamophobe. And so we worked with organizations across Tennessee to ask the speaker to rescind her appointment. So we work with NOAA, we work with Micah, and we reached out to our allies. So that's how we, these collaborations work. So we're always looking for other organizations to collaborate and partner with. And another part of the community building is, we can't have a strong, empowered community if we're always facing discrimination and Islamophobia. So, part of building a strong community is fighting Islamophobia. And in our website at www.amactn.org, there's a tab that you can click to report any kind of threat. And when I say threat, I mean, it could be somebody called you a name at school, or somebody, maybe they sideswiped you tried to sideswipe you while you're driving home, or they, made an obscene remark to you when you were out in public, or they try to do some bodily harm. Whatever it is, nothing is too little. I think it's very important. What we know about hate crimes is they go underreported in the Muslim community. And so with this threat reporting, we want to get a sense of how much is going on. So even if it's something, there's no way, if it's just a comment somebody made at you while you're at the store, it's better to report it. Because when we talk to public officials, it's good to have a sense of, this is how often our community faces discrimination or threats. Now, if it goes to the point where somebody's harming you, or your life is in danger, or you feel threatened and your safety is threatened, then we always say call 911, but let us know too. And if you don't know how to navigate filing the police report, we're happy to help you and make sure that the police take it seriously. Because I think that's what we hear often. People don't want to want to report things because they don't think the police are going to take it very seriously. And so we advocate on behalf of our community to make sure law enforcement is taking these kind of threats seriously. We also help people in cases of discrimination. And so whether it's workplace discrimination, and we get a lot of calls about people who are discriminated at work. And we learn about the details and find out what ways can we actually help. And sometimes, you know, a lot of times people think about lawsuit as their first option, but sometimes it's not always lawsuit. Sometimes it's actually going and talking to a manager or talking to the owner of a company. And then if you do want to go the lawsuit route, we refer people to a lawyer, or we help, we refer them to the Tennessee Human Rights Commission that will actually investigate your case and tell you whether you have a case strong enough to go to court. So those things are important. Also, schools, discriminations happen in schools. Again, we take it very seriously. So last September, volleyball player Naja Akil, she played freshman volleyball at one of the local schools here in Nashville, and she was disqualified from a game for wearing a hijab. And they said, well, she didn't have special permission to wear it. So that's where we stepped in, and we weren't the only ones. There was some other, her school stepped in, but you know, we pushed back against the TSSAA who made the rules and said, no, that's discriminatory. And, you know, we got pushback from TSSAA saying, oh no, there's nothing wrong. But we kept pushing, we brought in ACLU, but they did change their ruling. So now Muslim girls can wear hijab while playing sports in high school, and you know, that was changed on the state level, but for volleyball, it was changed on the national level. So that was a great victory for Muslim girls. And we're fighting Islamophobia in general. So I don't know if any of y'all remember a year ago in June, the Tennessean ran an ad that literally said that Islam was going to detonate a nuclear bomb in Nashville. I mean, it was an Islamophobic ad. They shouldn't have ran it. We called them out for it. They apologized. Somebody was fired, but we did publish like a one-page letter signed by over 600 community members and elected officials across Tennessee, saying that standing by us against this Islamophobic ad, and the Tennessean offered an apology. And then again, the Textbook Commission, as I mentioned before, we've been working against the appointment of Lori Cardozo-Moore to the Textbook Commission. We talked to many of the legislators who were on the committee, who in which her appointment was discussed, and they really grilled her about her Islamophobic remarks and advocacy that she's done in the past. So, you know, these are things that we have to be vigilant about. Any kind of threats, discrimination against our community, we'll always speak up on behalf of whether it's individuals or our community as a whole. So, I mean, this is really where, like, if you have a question, you're not sure what happened to you, was discrimination or not, this is where you just give us a call and we can discuss it. And it might be something in the past and you just want to let off steam and it's important that we know. So when we talk to our elected officials, when we talk to law enforcement, we say, hey, this happened in the past, we don't want to see it happen again. So our third part of empowering the Muslim community is media relations. And so we all know, you watch the news, certain news channels you can't watch because the way that Muslim stories are told and what kind, it's usually in the context of terrorism or national security. So we think it's very important that we highlight, Muslim stories of ordinary Muslims who are living their lives, who are contributing to the community, who are making a difference. And so these are just like two examples of, how Muslims were celebrating Ramadan within COVID, and about our food box distribution that we were doing in Nashville. But I think it was important that Muslims are able to create their own narratives, tell our own stories. We also encourage our community members to write our own op-eds, and not just about issues of Islamophobia or discrimination or so-called Muslim issues, but on whatever your expertise is. So if you're a doctor writing about some medical issue, if you are a business owner writing something in business, how COVID affected your business. So, but telling our stories is very important, telling them ourselves, and making sure that media is covering us in actual fair and balanced way. So, so that is just a summary of the work that AMAC does. And I would love to open it up for any kind of question you have. And maybe I will try to stop screen share. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Sabina. And I just want to repeat again, nothing is too little, or if anything is going on, they can either email, they can call AMAC, and whatever they may feel, to just report it. Am I correct?
Yes.
Nothing is too little.
Yeah, nothing is too little. I think it's very important.
Does anyone have any questions for Sister Sabina? Again, AMAC is here to empower you, whether it be through civic engagement, fighting for your rights, or if you just need resources.
And I mentioned about MRS, which Hala does in Memphis, but you can always email or call me at the AMAC number, which is 615-988-6460. And, I can help you find the resources in Nashville or Middle Tennessee. And so oftentimes, even if somebody calls me and asks me for something, even if I don't know it on the top of my head, I will go find an answer. I will go, because I think it's very important that, our community is empowered with the resources they need.
Sabina, can you talk a little more about AMAC's youth or organization work that they do?
Yeah, so I mean, every year we have youth interns who help out with the AMAC's work, but the youth leadership program in Nashville, we began it 2 years ago. And so the third year of the youth leadership program is beginning. Actually, registration is open, and you can find that on our website until July 31st. But what I really love about it is the students get to choose what topics they want to learn more about. So last year, some of the topics they had was, one of them was they wanted to learn more about COVID. And so we got an expert from the CDC to speak to them directly about COVID. One of the issues they wanted to discuss is growing up Muslim in America. What is that like? And so they made their flyer. They put the programming together. It was online because of COVID. They got the speakers, and it was an awesome program. And it's interesting. One of the things the youth really look forward to, they really want, is a unified community, because there's so many different mosques and people belong to different ethnic groups, so they go to different mosques, wanting the youth kind of like look beyond that, and they just want to have more programming together. Our youth committee statewide, so we started that almost a year ago, and they had a discussion after the elections, and then now they're working together to put together workshops for college readiness workshops for high schoolers. So high schoolers can know like how to apply for college, what do they need, what they need, standardized test scores, what to expect when they go to college. And how to, figure out, what kind of career you want to go into. So they're working on that, and that's going to be a statewide initiative.
That's great. And this year I really enjoyed Muslim Day on the Hill. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So 2020, we had over 100 students signed up for AMAC's Muslim Day on the Hill. And then of course we were gonna have adults also. But because COVID hit and we had to cancel it. So that was sad that we had to cancel it. So this year with COVID, we did everything online, and it actually made it easier for those who were in Memphis or in Knoxville to join us. But we had Zoom meetings with, I believe it was 17 different legislators. So representatives, senators, leadership within the Democratic Party. And so that was wonderful, being able to talk about issues. And we had one meeting with a state senator who said he had never met with a Muslim before. And so that was a very interesting conversation. And then the members of that, of his constituents were like, okay, we're gonna have coffee together once COVID's over. So that was a great connection to make. And a lot of people, before they meet a legislator, they think they're inaccessible. And they might see, okay, they sponsor this bill, and they may come with preconceived ideas, but people, the legislators, no matter what side of the aisle they are, they're happy to meet with their constituents, and they're very nice, accessible. So I think that's something everyone should do. It's great. It's a great experience.
Thank you so much, Sabina. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, comments? Well, I have one. Thank you so much, Sabina, for everything you do. It is really, really appreciated. Thank you for being on Muslims and Muslim Resource Services. I'm sorry. Do I have someone that wants to comment? I see a mic that, go ahead, Sister Mahreen. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Assalamualaikum. Hala, Assalamualaikum, Sabina. Thank you so much for so much you guys continue to do, and mashallah, alhamdulillah, so happy to hear this. I have only just now started to become an empty nester in the process. One kid's gone, one is mashallah on the way. So I'm just trying to understand where we're at, and alhamdulillah, mashallah, how you guys are holding fort, and mashallah, you've been doing so much. It's alhamdulillah. Thankful for you guys, and jazakallah khair. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I think we AMAC kind of fills the gap on where the masjids cannot do, so they're more working on the spiritual well-being of the community members. So we kind of come in and see where the gaps are and see what we can do, because at the end of the day, it's not about AMAC taking credit. It's about helping uplift our community members. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabina. No one could have said it better. Yes, we are here to uplift our community. We are connected to mostly all the Muslim organizations and mosques across Tennessee. If you have anything you can bring to the community, please contact us. We would love to have you on Muslim Resource Services. If you have any ideas, suggestions, please feel free to email us as well. If no one else has any more comments, I think we are good for today. Okay, thank you, Sister Sabina, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hala, and Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, everyone.